Got it. Welcome, everybody. Excited about the start of backup of spring practice. We had 3 good practices before we left for spring break. We've always tried to split that up. It makes sure they stay in shape for spring break, for one thing. We have a conditioning day when they get back on Monday yesterday, and they all look like they did really, really well. We're proud of them that they handled things right over spring break, and everybody came back healthy, and everybody did what they were supposed to do. We even I got a note from a family that was on a cruise with about 7 of our guys that talked about how nice they were, and they were East Carolina fans, and now they're also going to be Carolina football fans because they fell in love with these guys, and it really helps with a team to reinforce that when they get back. So really, really proud of the guys and the way they act. Disappointed for Malachi Hambrick that he got hurt, non-contact injury, and this is a tough sport. And we constantly talk to the guys about you can't control what happens to you, because he also lost a friend this weekend in an accident. But you can handle how you respond to it, and that's part of life. All of us have very difficult things that happen in our life, and learning how to respond to real negative things, and he's had a very difficult 10 days here is part of life and part of what football can do. All the other players will rally around him and help him and pick him up and make sure that we help him get back on track. You start looking at things that you want that are different in your culture, and last Thursday is a very difficult practice because they're all out of here. They're leaving when practice is over to head to spring break. So coaches are distracted, staff's distracted, players are distracted, and we had a great practice. They were all focused. They did really well. I was really surprised because you go back through my 35 years, and that's something that doesn't happen. So it's a change in culture that a lot of people did not have last Thursday. And I told the guys that. I was very, very proud of them. And proud that they came back and had a very good practice this morning. It's very spirited. They're really getting after each other. We've got enough new coaches. We've got some new ideas, and that adds to the excitement as well. We're also talking about the NCAA tournaments. You look at how many upsets there are. And when you look at the upsets, how does a certain team beat another team, and then the next game they get blown out? It has to be that sometimes the guys didn't take them serious, and that's just that's what we do in our everyday life. But it's sports, and that's happened to us some in our 4 years here, and we've got to change that narrative. We've got to be focused and ready to go and have an edge every day and every meeting and every practice, every walkthrough. To be able to get your mindset that that's the way you're going to do every day for every game on Saturday. And regardless of who you play or what somebody thinks the game's going to be, you're supposed to beat this team 21 points. It doesn't matter. Look at the tournament. Look at the tournament. It's who plays the best on that day. And it sounds like a cliche, but it's facts. And that's so far we've had 4 practices with full focus from everybody. We also told the guys this morning that what we will do is we'll take the 3 hours after this practice, and we'll look at their results in the offseason. We'll look at last Thursday's practice in pads, but we'll also look today, and I'm going to sit down with the coaches for about 2 hours this afternoon and say, who in your mind totally loves football? Who's tough? Who competes every day? Who's smart? Who's confident? And then we're going to separate the team. I told them this morning that you guys separate it for us. You got to make us play you, or you're going to make us sit you on the bench. And it's all based on your performance, and those are facts. That's what we do, and the guys understand that. And we're in a business where you've got to really push these guys to try to get them to win more games. We won 9. We're not happy with 9. That's not acceptable. Better than where we were, but not where we want to go. So we've got to push these guys, and at the same time be careful and worried about their mental health. And we told them that. We told them, you've got to take care of your mental health. We've got counselors all over the place. We've got to push you. And we've got to try to push you to get to a point that you haven't gotten before, because we want to win more games. So everything that we're looking at, the question that you need to answer is, will it help us win? And if it's not going to help us win, let's don't do it. Are the drills that you're doing in practice helping your guy get better so he can win? Are the team periods structured with down and distance, with analytics now? Are they structured so we're figuring out a better way to win than what we did last year? And all of that has to happen in practice. Spring practice is for evaluation of personnel, but it's also evaluation of schemes and your calls. So we've asked our coaches to go back and look at a Georgia Tech game last year offensively and see why we didn't score more points. What was our game plan? What would we change? Because some people are going to try to do some of those same things when we get back next fall. And we're in a position now where we've got to change the narrative. The narrative is we're soft on defense and we couldn't stop the run. Well, everybody talks about, including me, you don't have enough tackles for loss, you don't have enough sacks, you don't have enough turnovers. Those things don't happen until you stop the run. And we haven't consistently stopped the run here for 4 years. So it's time for us to step up and do that. And that's very, very important for us. Offensively, the narrative nationally is that we can score a lot of points and we're pretty and we can outrun people. We haven't been tough in the red zone. And that's facts. And so we've got to do a better job in the red zone. And we've got 2 new NFL offensive coaches who have been coordinators in the NFL. They've won Super Bowls. They've played in Super Bowls. So we want their eyeballs on personnel, but we also want their eyes and thoughts on red zone offense because the NFL is different. And it's something that we feel like can help us moving forward. Offensively, you're re-looking at personnel. You got 4 starters back on the offensive line. We've got to find a 5th guy, but we really need 8 to 10 guys. And we've said that every year. It's time for some of those young offensive linemen to step up. And they've had 3 offensive line coaches in 3 years, in 1 year. So if 3 of them haven't felt like they are ready to go, then they're probably not. So they need to be honest with themselves and step up. We got to have some of those guys play better. Running back's still a difficult thing because you don't tackle a lot in the spring, and it's hard to tell how a running back's going to do with yards after contact when you're not hitting with tackling. You've got thud. So we'll have to tackle those guys some. And the other problem with our running back situations, we've got 3 good ones that are healthy, but we've got 2 really good ones that are not healthy and can hit this spring, and then 1 coming in. So we've still got to have a way to separate those guys. The 2 transfer receivers look really good. They'll be in the mix. They're both of them are talented players. We thought they were, and they've had a good 4 days. Christian Hamilton and Paul Billups have looked good. And then we've got Chris Culliver coming in, and you've still got the guys. J.J. Jones is out for the spring, but you've got Gavin Blackwell and Kobe Pesor. So we're good at the receiver position right now, and the 2 transfers have really helped that. The tight ends, all 3 of the older guys are really good, and we got Julian Randolph coming in, so we feel good at the tight end spot. Freddie has said all 3 of those guys can play, and that's kind of what the narrative has been. He's been really hard on them. It's been an easy transition for him because John Lilly worked for him. So the same way they were running routes at Cleveland, John was running them here, and now Freddie's running them. So that could not have been a better hire for us to be seamless in that transition, and John did a good job for us. And then you start looking at quarterbacks. We've got to find the guy that takes Drake's place, and that's wide open right now. We're obviously looking at Connor Harrell because he's the guy that was the 3rd guy last year. You're looking at Tad Hudson. You've got the other guys that have had some reps, but Connor is going to get the 2nd most reps right now because we got to make a decision. Is Connor the guy? Because we do not feel like that Drake will be here after another year if he has the year that we all want him to and expect him to. So offensively, that's pretty much where we are. Defensively, most of the guys are back except in the secondary. And you've got Chapman, who's not practicing this spring. You've got 2 safeties in Hardy and Biggers that aren't practicing this spring, so that hurts us. But a lot of those guys can run and do drills and get in pass skills. So at least we can watch them. It was really good to get Tamari Fox back today for the first time in a year, because he didn't practice the first 3 days because of an upper body injury. And so he did really well today. Des Evans is getting some work in individual. A guy like Sebastian Cheeks is getting work in individual. They're not going to be able to do the full team drills throughout. But we feel like that Elijah Huzzy made a great interception against Tez Walker today, and he's made a lot of progress. So he'll be a factor at corner for sure, and we're excited about what he brings. We're still looking at the safeties. DJ Jones it's been interesting to put him over there and watch him for 4 days. It'll be good to watch his video here in a minute. And we've said we can move him back to running back in a hiccup and let him go back over there and play, because he's really smart and he's not going to miss anything. But we're looking for safeties. Day-Day's done a good job. Day-Day Hollins has played star. He'll play some corner. So we're cross-training him. He might even play some safety, but right now he's been primarily at star, and they've been impressed with him. Probably the most active person up front has been Kamen Rucker. He's such a tough young man. He sprained an ankle in an early drill Thursday, and Gene Chiswick tried to hold him out, and he said, "No, I'm going to play." And here's a starter that's fighting to get back in. So he'll be on that list today as one of the toughest guys that really loves football. And again, until you stop the run, you're not going to have the tackles for loss. You're not going to have the sacks. You're not going to have the turnovers. Till you can run the ball, you're going to have tackles for loss, and you're going to have sacks, because you're going to be in a long yardage situation. And those are things that we really didn't improve over our 4 years. And we've got to improve those to take another step. So change the narrative, change the toughness, run the ball better, stop the run better. And then in football, everything else has a way of working. Still looking at depth. We got to find backup linebackers. We know the two that are really good that played for us, but we don't have a guy who has played in a game in reps that mattered as a backup. So that's a key for a key goal for the last 11 days of spring practice. And then find your corners. You've got Marcus Allen. You've got legend Cavazos. You've got Elijah Huzzy right now that are all rotating, and you got some guys that will be playing that are out right now, but we've got to develop depth in that area. And like I said, Elijah made an outstanding interception this morning. It's one thing we love about him. So he's got instincts, but he's got ball skills. He can catch, and we've got to have more turnovers. Power had an unbelievable interception where he dove and caught an outstanding ball. So we're really talking about stopping the run and forcing turnovers. We're also using our new coach, using our experience and trying to help each other on each side of the ball. Talk to the defensive guys and say, what are you doing on offense that hurts us? And then the same with personnel. Which guy would you pick on if you were the offense? Who are you going to throw against, a corner or safety? Who's the softest guy up front you're going to run against? And don't be sensitive about it. I know you love you guys, but let's be factual here. You've got great experience on both sides of the ball telling you that I would pick on this guy. I love this defensive blitz that you bring against us offensively, because it's tough for us. That one we don't care about. That doesn't bother us very much. You need to disguise more. You're letting us see what you're in. So we're trying to use each side of the ball with our experience, because I've never had this much experience on a staff. We're really trying to make sure that we help each other. Special teams, we're trying to win games instead of be good. Change a game, and that's very important. We've gotten so much better, but now it's time to change the game. Also, you're trying to transfer leadership from last year to this year. And unlike the NFL, college football teams are different every year. They start over. We've got 8 guys that are back on our leadership committee from last year. After spring practice, we'll vote, because we want to have summer to talk to them more about leadership and get them more prepared, instead of doing it during the preseason. So that'll be a big part of this. And we have a council of Corey Holliday and Kevin Donnelly and Denaris Searcy and Brian Hess that teach leadership outside of the coaches. Obviously, the coaches do the same, but they will be working and investing in leadership outside of what we've got, because we've got to have a player-led team.
Do you usually have 15 guys on the council?
Well, it's a great question, Adam. We have whatever they vote.
Okay.
The guys that get the most votes are on it. One year we had 23, and we weren't very good.
Okay.
And last year they cut it to 15, and we thought our leadership last year was really good. You remember some of the early arguments on the sideline at Georgia State, and I thought it was good. We needed that. We needed people to call each other out, because we hadn't been that. We're too nice sometimes. We don't ever get in trouble, and we make great grades, and we're all really nice. Well, when you play, you got to get after each other some. And this morning I saw Sid Gray and Power Eccles absolutely getting after a young one in a positive way, and said, no, that's not the way you do it. And they were all over him now. I thought, ooh, that's good. So, but we've got to do that more across the board. But it will be how many they vote for. Ross?
You said Tamari Fox, is he completely cleared in practice?
Yes, he was full speed today for the first time.
First time today?
Yes.
And then Des Evans is still being held out?
Yes, Tez and Sebastian Cheeks they're released for contact in drills. They will not let them participate right now in full team, like a scrimmage. Des Evans and Sebastian Cheeks. And is that it? Was there I mean, there's some others. Obviously, the safeties aren't even released yet.
Yes.
Chapman's not released yet.
Defensively, just those guys that were in that.
Yep.
Tamari was doing some stuff. I thought I saw him in practice that we were at.
He is, but he is only he was doing the drill part, and today they let him go into the full 11-on-11 for the first time.
Right, he's not limited anymore.
He is. That's right. That's a better way to put it. Okay, we have an open practice on Saturday along with our high school clinic. We're expecting a lot of great prospects this weekend coming in as well. But we've got a great lineup with our new coaches to speak at our clinic. And we got really good numbers already of guys that are coming in. And clinics are harder now. The high school coaches aren't paying their way anymore, and they don't get credit for coming. And when I was here before, all of that was happening. If they leave, they have to get a day off. They can't just leave the school. So it's impressive that many people have signed up. It's supposed to be 78 degrees, and we'll be in the stadium, so it should be a fun day for those guys. The real reason that we're meeting today is to introduce to you our two of our new guys that I'm so impressed with. And you look at what they've done in college, but you look at what they've done in the NFL, and they bring things to our staff that we haven't had in the past, and you can't have. Clyde Christensen, 26-year NFL veteran, won 2 Super Bowls, been an offensive coordinator at a couple of different places, and more notably for coaching Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, and Jameis Winston. So that's hard to bring that to your quarterback room. It's just very, very powerful. And if I'm Drake May and those young quarterbacks, I'm all over it. I mean, Chip Lindsey's done a great job. He's got 2 guys in the NFL. And then for Clyde to coach those guys, we've got a wealth of knowledge in that quarterback room to help those guys. And we have talked ad nauseum about getting more tackles for loss and doing a better job with pass rush and stopping the run. So we bring in Ted Monachino, and he's been a defensive coordinator in the NFL. He's a guy who's coached outside linebackers, inside linebackers. He's coached the defensive front, coached the defensive front at the Falcons last year, and he's had Elvis Duberville, Khalil Mack, C.J. Mosley, and Terrell Suggs, which are 4 of the best pass rushers in the history of the NFL. So that gets, when you walk into that room with the front 4, and we've had an issue there, it gets their attention immediately for all that he's accomplished in his background. Questions?
What is the sales pitch for you bringing guys like that in? Because I'm sure they have a lot of options. So what are you offering them that might be a little bit unique that can enhance either their football experience or make them even
Clyde is a Carolina graduate. I've known Clyde forever, and I think he just wanted to come back and help his school more than anything else. He'll tell you here in a minute. That's why we're having them meet you. And Ted is a very good friend of Coach Chiswick's. So, we brought in Jamal Lett, who was the special teams coach at South Alabama last year. We brought in Ty Greenwood, and he was the co-defensive coordinator at Elon. So we're getting some really, really good coaches across the board. And I think they feel that we're headed in a good direction. And they know that we need to take another step. And Ted knows that we need him here. He can help us in so many ways for what we want to get done. And when you mention those names and his background to our guys, they're going to gravitate to him immediately. And he'll be sitting in that room evaluating them, and he's been in that NFL draft room. And he can say, that's not going to get it, man. That's not going to help you at all. You're not even going to be on the board, so go get a job. Or you got to pick it up and do different things. And being friends with Coach Chiswick, he's going to evaluate everybody. So he'll be evaluating our scheme. He'll be evaluating every player every day. He'll be talking to Gene about why are we doing this? I like this better. And the same with Clyde. Clyde's going to be in there as an offensive coordinator, and he's going to be looking at everything that we do offensively. And you got Freddie Kitchens, that's a head coach in the NFL, and Clyde, that's won 2 Super Bowls. And they can sit there, and if I've told them, you all be very, very critical in those rooms. That's what we're here for. We're here to win, and we need to do whatever we need to get that done.
I could ask a follow-up on that, because based on what you brought up. Last year you spoke a lot about self-evaluation during those 2 open periods.
Yes.
How high is the bar raised on that now, having these guys in the program?
It's really high because you bring in guys with this much positive experience, and especially at a level that our guys want to go to. And you're constantly trying to get better. We obviously were better last year. We went from losing 6 games on the road to winning 6 games on the road. We won a Coastal. We did a lot of really good things. The narrative is you didn't finish like you need to. So why didn't you finish? Why didn't we get better at the end? So it's a great time for us to have a chip on our shoulder and not like the way we finished and go back and reevaluate everything. And one of the great things about bringing in new coaches is new ideas. New set of eyeballs, and they are critical. And when you ask them, Ted, what do you see? And then I've asked our defensive staff with Ted to go back and Ty Greenwood and go back and look at last year's game, let's say with NC State. What would you have done different? Here's the game plan. Here's what we did. What do you all see? Without knowing our personnel, what would we change? So it's really a healthy time right now, and everybody's getting along. Everybody understands we got a chance to be good. I think that's probably why the guys have responded so well to the first 4 days of practice. They're excited about the changes and the thoughts moving forward, and it's good for me. I mean, I haven't had people like this. Larry Porter did a really smart thing the other day. He asked Coach Kitchens to stay and talk to our entire special teams about special teams in the NFL. And he told them that we're going to play 2 great receivers, probably going to have 4 or 5 on the board. If those 4 or 5 aren't playing special teams, you're not going to travel. So you better play and you better be good if you want to play at that level. And they're all saying, So it's going to make our special teams better.
With Clyde, what do you want his role to be in terms of, is he going to be in the offensive coordinator room working with Chip? Is he going to be focused just on quarterbacks? What do you kind of expect his role to be, so to speak?
We're still working through all that, Ross, and it's a really good question. We all think the NCAA should allow everybody to coach because it's a rule that they can't enforce, and it's broken in most of the universities across the country. And it's frustrating for us because we're doing it right, and ours have to stand there and talk through a coach, or they can obviously, Clyde can talk to Chip in the quarterback room and the rest of them can hear it, but he can't coach them individually, especially on the field. So that should change, and we're hoping that changes in April. And there's absolutely no reason it shouldn't change because compliance has to worry about it, and it's a tough thing for them. But right now, Clyde is in the quarterback room. He's in the offensive staff room. He's giving ideas to Chip. He can talk to Chip about the evaluation of all the quarterbacks because we know how important. Drake's got things he really wants to improve. He's talked about his footwork and his throwing motion, staying in the pocket better, and who better to help with that than Clyde and Chip. And the same with Ted. Ted's in every defensive meeting. He'll move around. He'll be in the defensive line meeting some. He'll be in the linebacker meeting some. He's evaluating our meetings. So he's going to look and see, presentation here, that confused me a little bit. I'd do this differently. So we're really being hard on each other to ask each other, everybody to step up and have a better team.
So technically, they're just advisors to the coaches' suggestions. They can't directly coach the players.
Yes, and we're hoping that changes.
How do you guard against there being too many voices and,
Yeah.
few people telling
It's another great thought. What I've said, CL, is does it help us win? Give up your ego. We don't have time for that. We've spent 4 years in this program, and we're much better than we were when we started. We've accomplished things that haven't been accomplished around here in a long time, and we're not near where we need to be. So the only way we can get there is get better. So you as a coach should listen to somebody who's got great knowledge. And I said you don't have to like it. You don't even have to agree with it. You can agree to disagree and have hard discussions. But when we walk out of the room, we've all got to be on the same page. And obviously, Randy Clements has brought a lot of good ideas, but we've got to change the narrative in our running game. We were really good when we had the two great backs. We were okay our third year. We were inconsistent last year. And we've got to be able to win a game without it being the quarterback. If Drake has a bad game, we can't just say Drake had a bad game. You need to be able to run a ball. So we've got to do that. And last year we couldn't do that. In fact, we had coaches tell us that left their programs that we knew you weren't going to be patient enough to beat us in a running game. So in the last 3 or 4 weeks, all we did is change up coverages and try to screw up your passing game and double team Josh, and because we knew you weren't going to run the ball well enough to win the game. We've got to go back and be able to do that. That'll help our defense. It'll help pass protection. It'll help tackles for loss. Having fewer tackles for loss, it'll help everything. But the best teams in the country, the ones that were playing in the playoffs, at the end were running the ball.
Mack, you said a few minutes ago that the narrative was Carolina was soft on defense and whatever. I'm just curious, where did you hear that from? Did you hear that from other coaches or other players? Or I'm just curious how a head coach like you will say that about you.
You know, you sit and listen to everybody, and I got friends. One of the great things about 35 years as a head coach, you got a lot of friends that will tell you the truth. And when we haven't stopped the run, and I thought it was unfair to our defense after Appalachian State's one of the worst quarters in the history of college football, that everybody said they were just bad, and even when we played good, we were still bad, and that was not fair. But we still hadn't stopped the run. I mean, you've got to stop the run to win football games, and to do that, you got to be tough. And I've told our coaches, we've got good enough players to win every game. And it's our responsibility to put them in positions to help them win every game. That's what it is. Does that put pressure on us? Absolutely. And that's what I want. These kids, they're doing everything we ask. They're staying out of trouble. They're doing everything right academically. They're practicing really hard. They're playing really hard. It's our job to put them in positions where they can win more games.
Mack, with the 3 most recent hires, Freddie, Clyde, and Ted, were you specifically looking for guys who had recent NFL experience? And if so, what's the advantage of getting guys who have been in the league for as long as they have?
Yeah, we hit an absolute home run with Freddie and Clyde because they both wanted to come. And I didn't think there's any way we could hire Freddie Kitchens. I mean, this guy's been a head coach in the NFL. He's been a coordinator in the NFL. Clyde, we jumped all over it. We asked him to be the speaker at our high school clinic. And then when we found out he was going to take a year off, I said, come on, man. We need your help now. So will you do that? And he actually thought about it for a week, 10 days. And then he said, yeah, I want to do this. So those two happened. And then we actually Coach Chisholm and I talked about, we wanted a dominant defensive guy from the NFL to help us with our front seven. And we all know we need to get better at pass rush. Again, we've got to do that, but until you stop the run, you don't put them in second and third and long where you can get to the quarterback as easily. So, but Ted was the guy that Gene wanted 2 months ago, and we were waiting to see whether Ted would accept it or if he was going to go back to the NFL right now, because he'll be back in the NFL at some time, I'm sure. But here's a guy that's done this as an analyst. He's done it as a college coach. He played at Missouri, and then you go find a guy that's been a defensive coordinator at the highest level, and he's got the best pass rushers that have ever played the game. So it's just the staff has aligned perfectly, even better than I could have ever anticipated 2 months ago.
As far as their day-to-day, I mean, obviously the rule changes and everything, that changes a little bit, but is Clyde here every day working, or how does that
Yes, sir. Clyde and Ted are in every meeting. They're here every day. They're going to be with us at every practice. They're going to go to every game. They are coaching, period. They just, until that rule changes, they cannot be hands-on coaches on the field. But I'm sorry, Tommy, what they can do, and they were doing this morning, is sit there and write notes like I do. And then when they're in these team meetings all afternoon with the defensive staff meeting and offensive staff meeting, they can say, I saw this. I don't like this. Here's an issue that I think we've got to address. And that's just unbelievable experience to help us in those areas. Yes, sir.
I was going to say, what kind of like nuance is there between, you have these guys coming in with a lot of NFL experience. So will they bring the players kind of to an NFL standard, or is it they will learn more of a college? I don't even know if I'm asking this right, but you know what I mean? Like the nuance between the league and college football.
Yeah, CL, there's not that much difference anymore. When you look at it, there's guys in the NFL that you don't think could possibly be playing there. When you see a fourth-round draft choice go start somewhere, and I've talked to Coach Moody about it, you talk to Ted, you talk to Clyde, and they say, no, there's more guys that aren't great players in the NFL than you think there are. But we all want the same thing. You've still got to pass block. You still got to run the ball. You still got to tackle on defense. You still got to blitz. So the games are more similar than people think. And now the narrative has been that a lot of the run and shoot being physical has gone to the NFL. So even the offenses are much more alike. But you still got a rush passer. Still got to play with low pads. You still got to do all the things for both leagues that we need to do to figure out how to win. And that's what these guys are going to help us with.
Mack, you kind of took my question when you said the staff is aligned better than you could. I was going to ask you if you could go back to late December or early January, but you also said that it's really healthy right now. Does it take the changes that have happened and the way things have come together to be able to look back and say, wow, it has gotten better in terms of the feeling around here and stuff like that? Does it take, do you have to get away from it to be able to look back on it? Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, and it's at Texas, I think, and I may be wrong, so don't hold me to numbers, but we had maybe 3 coaching changes in 16 years, and that's not healthy. I thought it was, because you think continuity, and what it is you get in a box and you don't get new ideas, and you're winning, so you don't go look around, so you get stale. And then you recruit the same areas, and you go to the same speaking engagements, and change is really good. And our players are convinced. I've convinced them there's a transfer portal for players, obviously. There's a transfer portal for coaches. Coaches are moving around more than ever before, so you may not have the same coach. So it's my responsibility to make sure we find one as good or better. And the kids believe that now. And they're excited when somebody leaves. They're excited about who we're going to get and who we're going to bring in. And that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. But I don't think I've ever been as excited about a group of men sitting in a room together, watching them work, and seeing how cohesive it's been, and even Tim Cross. He's had a lot of criticism for Tim to accept Ted like he has and ask questions and want to learn. And it's been really, really refreshing to see our guys. To have Chip, it takes a guy with a whole lot of confidence to hire Freddie Kitchens and Clyde Christensen in your room. As CL was saying, how do you feel? I asked Chip about both of them, and he said, man, I want to win. I want to learn. So I'm in. I'm all in. Better coaches we can get to better. And a lot of coaches wouldn't want you to do that. And it wouldn't work. They'd think it looks bad for them that somebody else is here, and it doesn't look like we trust them. And all we're trying to do is win.
When we talked to Gene 2 weeks ago, we talked about a model on defense, standard over feelings. How much does it help bringing in this guys with the kind of quality that you have brought in as analysts to kind of send a message to the kids we mean business, which kind of helps push the standard over feelings message?
Yeah, it's a great message to them. And I told them today, you got a lot more eyeballs on you now than we had. So we're going to ask those guys, what do you think of this player? And we're going to tell the player, it's not just your coach. There's 7 others in that room. And when you've got Freddie Kitchens that's coached the guys he's coached at running back and quarterback and tight end, I said the guys this morning, guy coached Adrian Peterson, Chubb's going to walk over, and if Larry Porter says, what do you think of those 4 running backs? And he doesn't even know who you are. He's going to tell us what he thinks. So don't be griping at Larry Porter because you're not playing. There's a lot of eyeballs in that room.
At the outset, you mentioned the really good practice the Thursday before spring and then this morning. Do you think part of this fueled that a little bit?
I don't think there's any question. We said that 9's not enough. We said it's time for us to step up and take another step. We got good enough players, and now we've got you good enough coaches to take another step. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend that 3 hours this afternoon evaluating who you are, and you're going to help us. I put a video on this morning, and one of the coaches, one of the great women's basketball coaches in the country, our coach at Connecticut, said in this video, force us to play you by the way you practice. Force us to bench you by the way you practice. And I used that this morning. We're going to evaluate what you do, period, 100%. So you force us to play you. You want to play? Quit griping about it. Force us to play you because you play good enough. You practice good enough. And that's what today is going to be this afternoon. We're going to spend a long time marking guys that are passionate. I can say right now that Sid Gray and Power Eccles are going to be in that group, 100%. But we're going to do it at every position on this football team. And then you've got the blue team, and they'll be the passionate ones. You've got the white team that can play some. And then you've got the gray team that'll be the show team and maybe get some snaps on special teams. But other than that, if you're on the white team, you better play better if you're going to get to the blue team, and that message will be sent today.
To ask you real quick about Cedric, we can double back. I know you don't play a game for like 6 months or so, but we're talking to Cedric after practice the other day, and he was talking about the NFL draft grade that he got, and he was saying his goal is to try to be a first-round pick. You know, like what kind of just you're talking about focus, intensity. You know, what is he bringing here at the start of spring practice? What have you seen from him, knowing that that's sort of what his individual goal is to become that level of a player? What do you think from Cedric?
Adam, again, all these are good questions. Was said he was that way anyway. He plays so hard, but that's where Ted's going to help us. Coach, what do I have to do to raise my draft grade? And Ted can sit there and tell him. Coach Moody can tell him. He's had 19 years as a pro scout in the NFL. But when you got Coach Monachino, he can sit there and say, I'm with Tommy Thigpen, because he's going to be in those meetings too. Here's where Cedric needs to get better. Needs to pass rush better. He gets on blocks. He's got to get on the edge. He's got to get around. And there was a time this morning, I won't mention who he ran over, but Power Eccles absolutely ran over one of our running backs in a pass rush. He blitzed. And we've been talking about our guys blitzing better. I mean, I worried about Drake. He knocked the running back so far back into Drake. Drake had to get out of the way. And the whole indoor area shouted, but it was that kind of collision. Anything else? We'll get Ted up here.
We're going with Clyde first. He's
Oh, Clyde?
Yeah, he's right in the wings here.
Okay. Got it? Thank you, guys.